Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 15th candidate, Mr. Antonio Senatore's session. Thank you for sparing some time and coming to hang out with us tonight on the final steering committee candidate session. It's been a long road, but I hope you've paid attention and heard from our excellent selection of candidates so far. Tonight, we get to meet Antonio Senatore, Foundation CTO. I'm sure many of you are very familiar with him. Antonio, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jake. I'm good. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for joining. You're a busy man. All right, well, let's just hop straight into it then. So why don't you start by giving us a little bit of insight about yourself, your background, and your professional development?
Yes, so my name is Antonio Senatore, as you just said. I'm a Southern Italian. I grew up in a town called Cava dei Tirreni, which is just behind the Amalfi Coast. That's where I spent most of my entire childhood and my teenager years, a good part of my adult life. And then since 2007, I've been living in Ireland, in Dublin. It's been 16 years now, so
Wow.
yeah, most of my adult life now in Dublin. I'm actually Italian and Irish, so I own both citizenship right now, which is which is quite cool. In terms of professional development, I'm a computer engineer. Now, I must say I did high school in computer science. In Italy, you have more diversity in terms of high school choices. So started coding already in secondary school, but I really nailed it in high school and got my Leaving Cert or high school diploma in computer science. So I was effectively already a coder when I was 14, 15, 16, all these years. And then I'm a computer engineer from Politecnico di Milano, so the large engineering university in the north. I have experience both in the startup space. Started in a small startup in my hometown doing desktop app. We're talking about many years ago. So now I didn't say my age, but I'm 45. So that's quite a long time ago. And then I moved to Accenture, the Naples delivery center, so a large delivery center in Naples, which is quite close to where I come from. And there I started doing more server-side and distributed type of development. As probably those who remember early 2000, J2E, Java type of application, the first enterprise web application, heavy web application, I must say, with large containers, large distributed transaction model and very complicated transaction model. When I moved to Ireland, I did a couple of startups. One was mobile aware. We worked for about a year with them around mobility, around really web content delivery on mobile phones, which was WAP. Now it's called responsive design. Now it's easy, but at the time it was quite complicated. Then I did a few years in New Base Software, 3 years, where I was there as a tech lead, heavy, coding experience there. Mostly based, it was telco type of software and digital content delivery. So in the years before the cloud, basically, and before you had the ability to upload your content somewhere and look at it everywhere, as we do now normally with Google Drive, Dropbox, whatever we have. At the time, we had to implement all that stuff ourselves. Was a great experience because it was, as I said, lightweight Java development. The initial idea of distributed small servers and distributed containers before even we had Docker, Kubernetes, all that stuff. Then I moved to Deloitte. In Deloitte, I did a bit of integration for a few months. Then I moved to the big data side of things, where I started basically building a practice there. And over the years, we developed one of the first commercial big data cluster in Deloitte, if not the first, actually, that was delivered. And with very, very heavy and complex AI built on top. And then, let's say after 4 or 5 years, Deloitte asked me to look at blockchain side of things. Blockchain was happening. We'll talk more about that later. Was around 2015, 2016. Deloitte decided to open the EMEA Blockchain Lab. I took technical charge of that side of the house. We grew very fast. I became a director and took the role of global CTO for Deloitte in the blockchain and crypto space. So quite an international role. And that was the time when I met Sunny, Renato, Luca, Peter Zu, everyone. And since 2021 October, I'm in VeChain as an interim now steering member committee and of course CTO of the foundation.
Amazing stuff. Very extensive history then in the world.
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes.
I guess a minor question, just out of intrigue, actually. Obviously, you've experienced the breadth of software development. How have you found the introduction of these more advanced AI tools nowadays as like an assistant tool? How do you think, is that a boon for the industry?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I use them on a daily basis. A lot of the work we are doing for VeChain, from a technical point of view even, is being done by using those AI tools. OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Copy.ai, and others. So it is a boom. There is a missing component, in my view, in all these AI tools, which is the blockchain, really, which is the crypto side of things, which is the Web3. These are important tools that rely on data, and we actually have to trust the data that is behind those tools and those models. We need to trust whether they are biased or not. But we hope they are not biased, but we don't know really what data they've been learning from, and we don't know what they've done with the data. There is tools that are going to help a lot, and they're going to make us a lot more efficient. But I go back to say there is a missing component, which is the crypto component. The data monetization part of it, the data ownership part of it, the digital identity for the AI themselves, the ability for AI to have an identity. And there's going to be a future when an AI is going to make a decision. And is that covered under a legal framework? Can you insure an AI? And so all of these can be done through crypto. So there's still a missing element, and we are here for that, to probably build that missing element.
Yeah, wow, that's a fascinating point. That's a good segue into my next question, which was, so when did you first hear about blockchain and what kind of inspired you?
Yes, so I'll be honest with you, not in 2008, not in 2009. I was too scared about the financial crisis to be looking at anything else. I was worried about losing my job like everyone was. At the time I was... I think in my early 30s. It was quite tough. It was tough for me, tough for everyone. Managed to keep the job, but not then. Not when Satoshi released the white paper, not when he did the Genesis block with his famous statement within the block. It was in 2011 when, if you remember the whole WikiLeaks saga, at that time, WikiLeaks, had all their bank accounts, credit cards all shut down, and they're basically funding themselves through Bitcoin. They asked people to donate through Bitcoin, and they're like, well, hold on a minute. I heard about Bitcoin. I never investigated since then. And then I went to look at white paper and how the thing would work. And I said, wow, that's amazing. Like a censorship resistant peer-to-peer cash system, because that's the way it was defined. And now we call it differently. People are calling it commodity, digital gold, etc. But that was my first impact. Then what happened is 2015, after the Ethereum launch, I think Deloitte published a white paper, or I should say an article. I think there were two of them published. The one I remember was Beyond Bitcoin, blockchain beyond Bitcoin. It's that idea of peer-to-peer network for multi-purpose. And the statement was, it's going to affect your industry. And I was like, what industry? And then I was like, oh, wow, that's everything. And within Deloitte, we started, looking into that. And then they decided to open the blockchain lab. But I was still trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? There's peer-to-peer digital cash. Then you have a multi-purpose network where you can code your own digital cash, tokens, assets. You can decentralize workflow, distribute workflow, etc. But then what happened? I went to the DevCon 2 in Shanghai, which, if I'm not wrong, Sunny was there as well, but I need to ask. I didn't meet Sunny back then. But what happened there is when I heard the concept of Web3 for the first time. And that really changed my perspective into things. What was the aha moment? I remember I was 3 days, there saying, oh my God, we're talking about a system where user has ownership of its own identity, data, and it's peer-to-peer. It's based on, consent to share. It is effectively, at the time they were talking a lot about this global censorship-resistant computer, which now there are multiple projects that try to achieve that. But at the time, I found that extremely relevant and fascinating. And then we started developing all different ideas around the Web3 within Deloitte. And, I stayed with them for another 5.5 years, pretty much. So that's where I found about blockchain.
Very cool. Yeah, I think I remember, hearing your name back in the day, early days of VeChain, when you kind of did this data onboarding and there's like 1 million plus transactions and everyone's like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, that was, I can tell you that story if you want about how did it went to happen. Like, I think it's relevant is how did it happen that I ended up with VeChain and knowing even VeChain. It starts with DMVGL, actually, with Renato, Grottola, and Luca, which are steering committee candidate as well. And Renato is current steering committee member. There was a bid, basically, and we applied as, Renato and Luca had this vision of digitizing digital certificates, which now we know they're NFTs. They're basically business digital identity in some extent. So we did an initial, it was 2017, when in September we did an initial POC on Ethereum, private Ethereum. It was literally an MVP. But it proved that we could integrate the technology with their main system, ERP system, etc. And then Renato said, and Luca especially said, this needs to go into a public ledger. And, we were looking at the time, Ethereum too expensive. Then Renato went on its own. I didn't hear from him for about a few months, 6-7 months, something like that. Then in May 2018, I was at Consensus. He rang me, are you at Consensus in New York? I said, yeah. So I'm trying to strike, let's say, partnership and collaboration with this guy from VeChain. They have a stand. Believe it or not, I was close to the VeChain stand. And I said, hold on a minute, I think they're there. Yeah, they know you are around. There is a dinner tonight between myself, Sunny, and all other people. And I went there and they said hi to the folks that were there. And then I said, I'm Antonio Senatore from Deloitte. Oh, Sunny wants to talk to you. And then Sunny came out, said, I'm working with Renato. We're meeting tonight. At dinner, Sunny explained the VeChain vision, which I think everyone knows now, but was the idea of bringing VeChain to fruition for enterprises and building, something that would serve valuable transactions. His idea of governance model, the authority model, the steering committee, which we are now actually seeing in action as we speak right now, and his idea of the double token mechanism, the fee delegation, which at the time had a different name, and several other things to make sure that enterprises would actually go and use a public ledger for transactions that made sense. And I said, oh, wow, that's great. And Renato said, I want to move that project into VeChain. And that was me then in April 2019. We did that movie. It took 5-6 months. We transferred all the digital certificates into VeChain. It was a bit of work, and we hit, I don't know how many transactions, Jake. You said 1 million. I think we passed the volume of Bitcoin for that week.
Yeah, it was over a period of time, wasn't it? I just remember.
A week. It was a week. Yeah. There was a batch job, a distributed batch job running. It was myself, And my team, Parminder, Gavin, other guys working on that one.
Very cool. Yeah, no, that was a fun time, and it's amazing to see the mainnet, recently hitting million again multiple times in recent months. You're starting to see that activity trending up, which obviously everyone's very excited about.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Cool. So in terms of then your favorite kind of application areas of blockchain technology, what would you say those are for you in particular?
Oh gosh, it's been asking this question to everyone. I found that difficult to answer always. To me, it goes back to the one I said before, is the entire Web3 concept. So it's not one application, but it's really what the Web3 enables. If you look at, Web3 is just a stepping stone for everything. It's the stepping stone for digital ownership. And then from digital ownership, which is a normal PKI, so the ability for you to prove that you own what you own in the digital space, which is the first time we've ever seen that. And then the ability to actually create digital assets and to create a digital identity. So then to give an identity to that ownership, to say this is this guy. And then from then onwards, you look at decentralized finance. And now I can actually, benefit from a whole new financial ecosystem that wasn't available to everyone before, and now it is. And that has been built quite quickly, like in 3 years' time, maybe, since we started talking about DeFi, 4 years' time. Now, how many centuries it took us to create the current DeFi? And then from then onwards, it's really everything that is related to Web3 is the concept of digitals, is the concept of, sustainability and incentivization, is the concept of product passport, which is one of my favorite ones, which is, again, in the Web3, you give a digital identity to a product and you can see its entire life, the history of the material is being built with, the way it's behaving during life. And then to move on, the post-life of that. And the tokenization of everything. Tokenization, now we're talking about sustainability, energy. What about the tokenization of energy in the future? That's a very difficult one, we know that. But what about, the ability to actually make money from everything you own and monetize your assets, be that data, be that your own content, or be that physical things that you have, and you're going to use the digital world for that. So the Web3 to me is the key application for it. There's no one, because if you take these applications one by one, a digital identity, okay, what does it mean? And DeFi, okay, yeah, I can ask a loan, but I can go to my bank and ask a loan for a loan into my bank as well. It's all of them together that really change the game. I mean, when the first time I analyzed Web3, the haha moment, the wow moment was when I realized, okay, this is the first time where the digital space can literally mirror or augment the physical life. Because it's the first time we can literally connect digital and physical assets together, or even having only digital assets, but with a clear ownership. And, so literally you can move towards a world where digital life and physical life are almost interchanged and they blur together. And you can do that only thanks to the Web3. You couldn't do that with before, because the Web2, it's only basically a place where you got an intermediary that tells you, I have this data, and I can guarantee you this person is this guy, and you can do that. You can do that operation. But we in real life, when we transact with people, we don't always use intermediaries. When I go somewhere, I show my passport and that's my digital identity, or I give you cash for something to buy something. It's not that I always use intermediary for anything I want to do. And the ability now that in the digital space, the intermediaries will be removed, and to bring the digital life at a level that is almost similar, if not the same as physical life, is great. And that's on the Web3, then you can build anything you want. So my favorite app is the Web3 itself.
Yeah,
in short.
You can't be short about this because it's so insanely massive. I think you made some great points.
Yeah.
You know, people overlook the scale of change, or perhaps don't quite understand like how just disruptive and insanely massive this technological field's going to be. We obviously we champion nowadays, like we've got 1 million day transactions, very exciting, but in 5 to 10 years you're talking about tens of billions of data points. Yeah, I mean, globally, what will be the data points created per day that get transacted to a blockchain? It will be mind-bogglingly massively more. So
it's very difficult to explain that to people that are not in this space. And I know when it comes to this audience here, we're pretty much safe. I know there's someone that is new for sure, but people get it. But you don't have to feel, and all of us, we don't need to feel, concerned about that. And we don't need to worry that it is difficult to explain. There's been a few statements I heard about crypto and blockchain and the Web3, especially the Web3, because the Web3 is really the most difficult concept. That if you can't explain the technology innovation within 30 seconds, or a technology, then it's just not worth it. It's undoable. I come, as I said, I'm a little bit older than probably most of the people here. And when I was a young developer, I had no internet. I'm one of the developers that started with desktop apps, no internet. At the time, no networking, literally. You know what I mean? Like, we had networking. We were doing networking in several ways, but it was very different. And when internet came, it was for us kind of and I'm talking about the HTTP protocol mostly, was an hypertext sort of, consumption engine where you had several servers with these web pages where you could have your content out there. And then you had chat, and then you had emails. And so you were like, you can chat with people abroad, you can email people abroad, and you can email your friends, and you can look at web pages. Now, if you look at the sheer of change that the internet has brought, very few people could have imagined that. Very few. And, even Nobel Prizes have failed to see that. Unfortunately, one of the things of the web never forgets. And the Web3 would be probably even worse, or maybe not. Depends the way we're going to implement that. It's probably going to be easier, but we will see. We will see. But what I'm trying to say is that at that time, with the internet, it was extremely difficult to understand and to explain to people the sheet of change that was going to bring. Now we are connected fully, constantly, and we do everything with the internet, constantly, whatever. Order food, go to the cinema, buy tickets, Google Map, taxi, work, buy books, anything. Come on, I don't need to explain anyone. It would be very difficult. We are at the same level now where we know the sheet of change that Web3 can bring to the table, and it's going to be very difficult to explain because it's a shift in your thinking. It is a moment where, hold on a minute, now you're in charge and you're the owner of your digital life, and there is a way for you to take advantage of that, and that's cool, if you ask me.
No, I totally agree. I think many of VeChain people see that quite advanced in their thoughts about blockchain, but
Yes.
yeah, it's definitely a very exciting world. Glad to be playing a small part. So on that note, playing part in the development of, obviously you're the CTO at the foundation. How are you building your tools to make sure VeChain becomes a dominant player in the future of blockchain?
Yeah, no, I just want to say something before, like, it is true, I'm now the CTO, and we're building a number of tools, and that we're gonna announce soon. Even before VeChain, I already had contribution in the crypto space. In terms of making an impact. Give you an example, Jake. I was the first one to recognize that digital assets were something that at some point in time were going to be institutionalized. And I remember at the time in Deloitte, with one very important auditor, Marco Grossi, who is now the CEO of Token Trust, we said we need a way to audit this stuff, and we need a way to report to the authorities, and a way to say there's this value here. And we did at the time the first proof of solvency audit ever done using for economy. If you remember the white hat hack, the multi-sig wallet hack, you probably remember that one. All the tokens that were moved to a safe space. I was the one auditing that. And it's public news. You can Google that. There was a Merkle tree that would check all your liabilities. Now, it could have been better. I think we could have done that decentralized. We could have pushed into a smart contract where I could vision whether people were actually checking their liabilities. But it was taken as an example in the academic world. They found a bug after 3-4 years. They communicated to me and said, well, you guys go and change it. But so my contribution has been, before VeChain, in the crypto space in general. And, being the first in the world doing this sort of stuff by saying, okay, we need to audit digital. People were laughing at that at the beginning, say, institutionalizing digital asset. Now Bitcoins are in the company's balance sheet. Like in 2017, that was unimaginable, totally unimaginable. And so what I'm trying to say here, to answer to your question, how are you making sure, how are you building your tech tools, is that before VeChain, I already had an impact in the crypto space that has helped the crypto space to move forward into a more institutionalized manner. Now I find myself in VeChain, and going back to your question, I mean, one thing, there's a number of things we're trying to do. One is, okay, we analyze initially a gap, some of the few things that must have for VeChain that must be improved, and I released in the roadmap, and that they're coming out, and we announced the wallet, we announced VORJ, which is a Web 2 to Web 3 kind of portal, and many other things. One thing, though, that we are focusing on, and I just gave the idea that everything we do must be driven by the business, must have a business impact. We need to go back to the final user. We need to go back to the ecosystem. We need to understand what we are building, how do we measure it, the impact of it. And my idea was, okay, we're just gonna do user stories, user stuff. But then one of my guys, Bernard, who is a very experienced engineer, he said, Antonio, let's bring to the table what we call impact mapping and BDD. And so basically where we can measure what we want to do. We can say, I want to build an app, I don't know, that does X, Y, and Z on VeChain. And okay, how does it look like? What is for the user? What is the impact for the user? How do you define success, et cetera, et cetera. So the way we are making sure we're building things is that there is a demand for it, and there is a clear persona using it, and that we have a clear business impact, which is measured mathematically. In the end, it's about to take this business impact and say what it is. Oh, I want to increase the transaction of 10% of VeChain. Okay, that's how we measure it. And then we have actually script that can measure that. We have analytics around that. And as the product gets launched, we can see whether things are really hitting the nail and having the impact we hope they have. The other thing I'm doing is technically really heavy engineering techniques. I'm removing a lot of what I call some of the guardrails that can slow down people without need. Sometimes too much corporate nonsense, which does exist in VeChain, but we remove anything that could slow down the team, and a lot of simple normal engineering practices, like security shift to the left, DevSecOps practices. So as we write code, we know that the code is secure. You have a proper pipeline that tells you, okay, checklist is good, the check style of the code is okay, component analysis, all the libraries you're bringing in, it's okay. Then you do, several tests, so it's test-driven development heavily, and then you have other aspects into the whole DevSecOps security. I'm not going to explain everything here because otherwise we take 2 3 hours. But that's one. So proper engineering practice is the third one is through the culture. myself and Sunny and with the rest of the team are trying to bring. Sunny stated to me we need to hire adults when I joined the team, which means people that take responsibility and accountability. And to me, that's crucial. And also we need to make decisions and we need to deliver stuff. That's the only thing that matters. So talking about problems forever, I hate it. And long procrastination or long deliberation is the enemy of delivery. So we got to find a sweet spot where we say, okay, we know that it's not perfect, but it's 80% there. We deliver now. So a culture of courage, a culture of learning constantly, trying things you never tried before without having fear of failing, and to say, hey, listen, I tried, this doesn't work, let's move somewhere else, let's try something different. So culture of ownership and being very brave in making the decision and making that decision. Say, we have to deliver this. It's either A, B, C, what do we decide? The three are not perfect, but the least difficult one is probably A, we go for that. So there's a lot of that. And, Jake, it's probably part of my experience. I worked a little bit everywhere, and I've seen that the fear of delivery, it is almost like a writer that can find inspiration. People get stuck. People try to be perfectionist, but in software you can stay there for years. We have seen that, by the way, in the crypto space, where I've seen organization working on wallets for 3 years to get the first release out. VeWorld, we started in June with the design, coding in September, and it's out in February. Like, we're just waiting for the Chrome store to approve it. So all those things, I'm trying to make sure things are delivered really well and with a business impact, with everyone, achieving the full potential. Then there's also collaboration, being very transparent with the rest of the steering committee. I have weekly updates there. I say, guys, X, Y, Z, that's where we are. What do you think? Do you think I'm on the right path? And sometimes Renato, Jay, they comment and they say, Antonio, are you sure you're doing that right? I think we should check that. And that openness within the steering committee is crucial, and I really like it. Nobody wants to be told you're doing something wrong. Okay, I'll be honest with you, but sometimes it's a bitter medicine. You take it in a moment, then you go back, you talk to the team, and say, "Oh, you know what? You were right." And so, openness within the team and openness with the steering committee is crucial. It's crucial for me.
Fantastic. Very comprehensive answer. I mean, from my experience seeing the turn of pace from the foundation, obviously the community will see these things as well in the very near future, but I think the acceleration in pace is definitely noticeable. So I think, obviously doing a great job with your team there in Europe. Okay, great stuff. You've obviously got a very comprehensive technical background and doing some amazing things on that side. But how has your experience been with the community so far? And how do you think the foundation can better serve the community in the future?
Oh yeah, it's a good question. Thanks for asking that. I haven't mentioned the community yet, but it's been a very warm welcome from the community from day one. I was amazed. I got in, and all of a sudden I got to meet the first few VeChain people that I didn't know. There were people, Sunny, before being in the steering committee, I was an advisor in the foundation, but I was heavily tailored towards enterprise use of VeChain. Okay, that was my goal, getting more enterprises into VeChain. Getting into the steering committee and then joining VeChain, then you have the community now on your side as well. Because you asked the question, say, how can you serve the community? But I think it's a circular thing there. There's also an element of the community serving VeChain. But let me explain that better. So it was a warm welcome from day one. A lot of people. I started gathering feedback from the major project, and they heavily influenced the initial few steps of the roadmap. A few comments around wallets, a few comments around the lack of a true Web 2 portal, the the frustrating experience of sometimes develop with VeChain, because we are an EVM compatible, but we're using Open Zeppelin libraries. Most of the developers, they work, but they're not vetted really by VeChain, which is something I've done. We run a full test of the entire Open Zeppelin suite, and we're actually going to bring them into our documentation website, and needs to be relift a little bit, technical documentation as well. So the community at the beginning really, reached out to me to say, Antonio, we need to step up the game. That's what we think we need. Then I had my own ideas on what we needed. Then, of course, Sunny, Renato, Luca, they had their own ideas, and we kind of merged all of that together. So that was the first thing. The other one from the community and was, I think we have something that can help you, Antonio. And in some cases that was true. Like the community can help the foundation in some areas. There are things that the community are doing that the foundation can bring to enterprise. There are things that the foundation can leverage. There are things that the foundation should ask the community to do. And of course, using the grant scheme or the funding scheme, anything we have. And I realized, the strength of the community. And I think Sunny is seeing that, and he knows that, and you can see him a lot active into the community, and it's great to see. There is stuff that is there, and I think you've seen yourself, Jake, a few examples of deliveries you have done with the community. One of the things, an example is Vinit, one of my product managers, and he's the leader of the VeWorld. The first thing he did, he went to the community to say, by the way, guys, VeWorld is out. It's already on the Chrome store. It's private link. Can you test it? And in 2-3 weeks, we got so many features to update because of the feedback. Feedback was positive. And then we got Brad from VC making a nice video about the wallet integration. And then Vet Lever from World of V doing another video with that massive transaction of how many, I can't remember how many NFTs and how many tasks he had in that. So 110 or something. So you see, you see the community engaging a lot. But what really impresses me is the community believes in VeChain, believes in the people. First of all, they buy the people. So they really buy Sunny, they buy Renato. I hope they're gonna buy myself. They buy the people, first of all, then they buy the vision, which is Web3 for sustainability. White paper, I cannot reveal too much. White paper is out very soon, as Sunny announced, and it's going to be, in my view, mind-blowing. So that's why anyway I found the community really warm, extremely direct to say, no, not good enough, need to do better, which is good, which is what I need. I need people being direct to me and to say, not good enough. I don't need people telling me you're good, you're great, and I need that sort of acknowledgement to say that's what we need. Thank you. I think the community in the end is going to be one of the ultimate player here when it comes to VeChain becoming de facto standard for sustainability. They're going to be the ones building a lot of the ecosystem. VeChain will do our part. Enterprises will do their part, but community will have a big play to role in the future.
Absolutely. And I think this renewed community-centric approach is vital. So good stuff. Glad to hear it. Great answer. Okay, onto the steering committee itself then. So the big question, why do you want to be part of the next steering committee?
Yes, that's, I was expecting that. I think the CTO needs to be in the steering committee. I'm going to be very, very blunt about that. The CTO is a role that delivers software on a business demand. We are there, and I work heavily with Peter Zhu. Peter has helped me immensely in the definition of the roadmap, and is our chief scientist working core on the protocol. Then we got our business guys, we got our CFO, and then we got Sunny, who is a CEO. As any CEO, he needs to be a driver. He needs to drive. He needs to push the accelerator. I'm the one that needs to bridge everything together and build infrastructure between the protocol, the clients, and the community. And so the CTO has to be there because there's going to be decision that the CTO needs to push to the steering committee to say, guys, I want to put this to vote, or I need to have a vote there because I need to influence that particular decision that is gonna bring more, in the end, adoption and more businesses to VeChain, more transactions. And so the CTO is a crucial role. Is a little bit of a pivotal role, and I think it needs to be there. It's also the CTO office is probably, if not the largest, one of the largest spender in any technology organization, Jake. It's not true for VeChain. If you're a tech-driven organization, the CTO is either the first or the second spender. And so, hence, you need to be in the steering committee and to be able to explain why you're requesting that budget. You can do also outside the steering committee, but having a vote makes you a little bit more faster into influencing those decisions.
Yeah.
That I hope I clarified why I want to apply, because
Yeah.
I think I need to be there.
No, I think the logic is pretty sound. It makes sense. You're a key influencer at the foundation. Okay, good. So in terms of then your core focuses, I mean, I suppose you kind of touched on it there, but what would you describe them as for the steering committee?
Well, I touched a lot there. My core focus is going to be in the steering committee is delivering on the tech that is going to underpin the sustainability agenda that we have in mind. And that's going to be it. Now, it sounds a lot like, okay, what does it exactly mean? Now, the white paper will clear a lot of these things, but in general, is making sure, VeChain can become that de facto standard for sustainability layer one. Imagine that in the white paper, we use a word that I'm not going to use now, but an overarching ecosystem where anyone can drag and drop their way into building sustainability ecosystem in the areas of anything: plastic recycling, second-hand markets, energy trading, carbon footprint, offsetting, whatever that is. But my role is going to be to push for decisions, technical decisions that are going to enable to easily onboard any ecosystem. I'm not talking about companies, but ecosystem within the VeChain protocol. Drag and drop your way in. That's going to be my vision, and do that within a few clicks and build your future business in the area of sustainability, which means bringing Web3 to sustainability. I mean, that's going to be my role. It's going to be also a role of make or buy. Do we build that? Do we buy that? Do we rent that? Do we partner with someone? So it's going to be a role of technology, sound, other partners in this ecosystem. In my roadmap, I specifically say all this stuff is going to be delivered either by VeChain, either by the community, either by some business partners. We're going to have to figure out. And my job is that make the decision of what do we build in VeChain, what do we leverage from outside, what do we partner with. And I think I should be, within the steering committee, it will be my job to work with Peter, especially who is more technical, to say, Peter, I think we should bring these guys into the protocol. And then with Renato, Luca, Sammy, Jay, to say, I think that's needed for the business. And with the CFO, which I think needs to be in the steering committee, because he's the guy that has to make sure the cash flow is there to run everything. Explain to the CFO what is the business impact in terms of the financial impact, how much we need for that decision, how much we're going to save, what are the alternatives we make, we buy, we rent, we finance, and saying, okay, that's my quick business plan for you guys, and soundproof with the CFO. So having also that business angle, that financial angle into the decision-making process. I've been working with Jay years, so that I hope to continue to do that. I know him. First time I met him was 2019 in Shanghai. So it's already 4 years now. In crypto,
Wow.
4 years appears like 20 years, if you ask me, but
Yeah.
that's for a separate discussion. I
No,
don't think it's for now.
no, I think I agree with that. I've been in since 2017 myself, and it feels like a decade. Cool. Okay, Antonio, thanks. Great answer as always. So a bit of a kind of a testing one, I suppose. Now, just curious, what is a key life lesson you'll apply to your role in the steering committee?
Yeah, I think I already touched up on that. Is the life lesson is to make a decision always, to not procrastinate or linger for too long on a step or at a decision point, and to be brave, to not fear the market, not fear the release, not fear the judgment of the community, but say, I did this, I tried my best, like we did for VeWorld. We released in January to the community to say, guys, test it. A lot of people would have been scared to do that, to say, no, it has to be perfect, because otherwise, the community, all our friends in the community, they may say, no, guys, you should have done better. But no, let make it try. Go out there and be brave, make the decisions. I've seen, I usually divide the world in, and Renato was telling me the same thing years ago, in people who actually go ahead and do things and are brave in doing things, and people that try to stop those brave guys into doing things. The crypto space is particularly, and let me, how can I say, innovative in that space. You need to have courage to innovate. You need to try ideas. So the life lesson is you really need to get out quick with your releases. You need to make a decision. You shouldn't be throwing everything at the table every time in order to delay decisions. Ultimately, once you have 20% of the information, it's good enough to deliver what you need, or to at least start delivering and start iterating. Deliver, iterate, because you never build the perfect product. The user is always going to use the product in a total different way. So it's better to come out with 20% of what you have in mind, let the user test, iterate, gather the data, and then go back. So quick releases, make the decisions, be brave, push yourself out there, release, and things will improve. Don't hold your guns. Don't stay covered in a trench for the fear of releasing. Don't wait 2 years before releasing anything. Just go out there. I give you an example. VORJ, which probably you have mentioned, Jake, is at the moment is a Web 2 to Web 3 API system. It has an indexer. So the indexer is going to be used by we hope exchanges in the future, other wallets. It's used by the wallet. It's used by NFT marketplaces. But then all of a sudden, we got a lot of interest from community and from enterprises that wanted to use it. And it's just an API. We released not only a set of APIs, and all of a sudden we had 7-8 organizations using it. And we don't have the portal yet, which is going to be a beta version in March. But I said to the team, let's release the backend. And then these users, they gave already as a feedback. We got back, we improved the backend. And now, because the backend is improved, we can do a better front end and a better portal. So the real life lessons is speed is at the essence, and feedback is at the essence. And you can't have all the information always. You can't sit there and wait for all the requirements in this world. It's going to take to you 20 years to get a wallet out if you do like that, and to get anything out. So be brave, get it out. And remember, when you make a decision, usually it takes a few days or a few weeks to reverse that. It depends how far you went and what you did. Of course, when it comes to smart contract coding, you want to be conservative there, but that is more from a security point of view. But in general, you can still deploy a new one and switch. But in general, being fast and being decisive, it's crucial.
Great.
That's really my life lesson. And I said from day one to the team, I created an entire slide saying that, which was at the center. It had CTO team culture, then build Web3 for sustainability, and then it had Sun is common, hire adults, and then I had a series of statements which I kind of covered here in this talk today. Very bold. I had do, don't do, basically. You know, things that we like, try things, make quick decision. Things I don't like, long deliberation. That's where I stand.
No, I think it's great. I mean, especially in this fast evolving world. I mean, it makes perfect. Move fast and break stuff, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Well, Antonio, those are some fantastic answers there. We've entered the last 10 minutes, so I would like to give someone an opportunity to ask you a question, if you don't mind, from the audience.
Yes.
But before, so audience, anyone listening, if you want to ask Antonio a question, now is your opportunity. So raise those hands, and I'll get to one or two of you. But Antonio, before I do that, would you like to give any final words for the community and the space and our future listeners?
Yeah. Final words in terms of the steering committee. I think, I've proven myself in the crypto space before, and I've been a VeChain aficionados, as you say, for many years. And now I'm in the foundation as a CTO. I think in the past, effectively, the office build in Dublin, the legal entity, and the first few hours have started in June, July. We had a bit of a team fully up to speed from September. We are in February and already have lots of stuff delivered. And what I want to say to the community, that's what you're going to have to expect from me. When I don't do that, I would like to know you need to move faster, but expect speed of delivery, expect courage from my side, and expect decisions. That's what I want to say to the community.
Great words. Thank you very much, Antonio. I see we have Bread,
Bread.
serial question asker.
Hi, Bread. Oh, he's been everywhere. He's been everywhere, Bread.
He is everywhere. Chain from... Right, just coming up to the stage. Here we go. Bread, the microphone is all yours, my friend.
It's okay.
Killing me. It's always halfway when I'm up. All right, sound just popped in. All right.
Oh, no.
Hi, Brad. How are you?
Hey, Antonio. Yeah. So I'm not going to put you in a corner here. So I'm just going to say the conversation, or my question is: last few days, obviously, the topic of conversation is the vet to VETHO ratio and how it is. I'm not going to ask what your thoughts are on like a solution or any of that stuff, but I wanted to get your opinion on the discussion, and do you think it's healthy to be having these things out in the open for everyone to see, both within and outside of the foundation?
We are in the Web3 space. Everything should be open. First of all, I'm not going to give you my opinion there. In a way, I have several ideas in mind, Brad, how that could work. And what I can tell you, we are working on it, and we are discussing that internally. It will require a few more iterations, probably likely after Vegas and after the Hive Summit. We'll go back fully on it, and literally chatting with Sunny about that on a daily basis. So we like to see what the community is saying. We like the ideas, and we are taking the ideas into account. We're literally looking at Twitter and anywhere else, and we've write that down, and we say, okay, let's consider this, let's consider that. And there are already a few options on the table. Now, I'm not going to tell you anything more about that, but be reassured that that's been looked at.
Thanks. Yeah, and I didn't anticipate I don't think it's respectful to ask for something here in your actual AMA, but I think your positioning of building in public is something that would resonate very well and is resonating very well. I think everyone loves feeling involved, and I want to just tip my hat, throw some flowers at you guys for taking the initiative to drive that. I think it's something that VeChain's been missing, and I appreciate you doing it.
Brad, you've been one of the first with the vet liver, and also the guys from the Dutch guys, the guys behind Comet and other things. Apologies, if I can remember the name, but also exactly Safe Haven, but also our friends from VeChain Stats and others. When it was around the month of September, when probably around October, when I spoke to Vinit and I said, okay, we're going to release something around February. And Vinit looked at me, you're crazy. Why? No. We release a set of features, parity with Sync 2 as much as we can. It looks already a lot nicer because I had a number of designers doing that work, which were very good. And we threw out there just to understand what you guys thought about it. And the fact that you were loving it gave the team that boost. And you were critical on a couple of features and on a couple of things, and we changed that immediately. But that's the way you should expect me to operate in the future. Now I'm gonna release a few more stuff soon, and the community will be involved again. Sometimes probably too open, but it's. I hope that would be appreciated.
It absolutely will be. It's actually something that I've learned over the last year or so. I don't think any of us are. I mean, no one can get used to how open a lot of this Web3 stuff is, but to embrace it, I think is a very strong signal. So again, I appreciate it.
And thanks for your work, guys, within the community, and thanks to everyone. I'm thanking you now because you're on stage asking the question.
Hey. Wow, that's a nice note to end on. I don't have any more questions, so we can call it quits there if no one puts their hand up in the next 20 seconds. But Antonio, it was phenomenal to hear from you. Brad, thank you again for an excellent question as always. And to everyone listening, this is our final session. So the voting will actually commence tonight at midnight. So we've already laid out the VVote with everyone's links nicely ready for you to check out and review, just in case you missed a few, so you can go back and listen to everyone. But the voting begins. So the first round is